mi bí ọtí. Olólùfẹ́ mi Jésù, ìwọ ni màá bá lọ. Kò sẹ́ni kankan that can take your place in my heart. I can't do without you. You're my all in.
Thank you for joining. Speaking up from yesterday, if you didn't join yesterday or if you haven't watched the video, just follow the link in the comment section. But I was making reference to how both couples they should build a home to sustain the home financially. Basically speaking, just cut your coat according to your cloth. A lot of people go into debt today, not because they don't have enough, but because they don't know how to manage or to deal according to what they have. It's like the story in the scripture of the widow, the familiar story of the widow with the oil. We learned about the widow being left with a lot of debt. The husband ran into a lot of debt, and unfortunately he died. And the two sons were they were practically going to come take her two sons as collateral. That is part of the financial strain that can happen to a family. You know if you are financially matured based on your spending. For me, at a point, we had to just buy a very cheap car, practically just something that could take us from point A to point B. Like, we didn't care. It's not a luxury car. It wasn't anything like that so fancy, but that was what we could afford at that point in time. And these are things if you sit down and look at it, these are things that when things become better, you can always upgrade. You can go to a bigger house and all. Why you're at it, upgrade yourself too. He is a go-getter. Like, he is such a go-getter. He got his certificate, his bachelor's degree in this country. He got it within 1 year. There are ways to do that. There's no time, or there's no point going into all of the details, but being a person that already has a degree, both bachelor's and master's from back home, there were courses you could just take and here and there, and everything added up, and within a year, a little over a year, he got his bachelor's degree, another bachelor's degree within the country, then certifications, just to make sure when he's suitable for the job market. So many times we always want to place all of the responsibility on God, but it is irresponsible to place all responsibility on God. Yes, we trust in God, but you don't leave everything in the hands of God. God will do his part. We have to do our part. Right. So as a couple or for a home, it is important, like the story of Joseph. In the time of plenty, you plant for the time of lack. Okay? That could be in various manner. Go to school, learn a trade, learn a vocation, however the case may be. Yes, economic situation, even the tide turns. Like I was saying back in my story, I was only one working, and then eventually my husband got a job, thank God, and then he was able to, we both were working. And when I was done with my contract, I was working with the U.S. Army, and I was done with my contract. I wasn't going to renew my contract, so I was off job. I didn't work for like 2 years, and within that 2 years, we got our 2 other little ones. Okay, and so within that space of 2 years, it was just my husband working. I wasn't the one working. But in spite of that, there was I still had a paycheck coming in. Put something down, however minimal, so that it wasn't just on one person. That's what we're trying to say. First Timothy 5:8. It's a common scripture that we know, but it's interesting to note that particular scripture, it says or it talks about if anyone who is not able, let's First Timothy, right? First Timothy chapter 5. I would say preferably the King James Version. The King James Version says, the previous verses was talking about widows, and so you would think even this is not even centrally gendered on the male gender, but in verse 8 it says, but if anyone, not if a man, no, it says, but if anyone does not provide for his own, especially for his household, he has denied the faith. God expects that we should be able to provide for the home. Being financially enabled also, I would say it also involves planning. If you know what you have or what you are capable of, don't live beyond your means. You come in agreement. Okay, this is the type of house we can stay, that we can afford. This is the number of children that we can cater for. This is the school they can go to in comfortably. It's part of planning. Okay. Another interesting thing as I plan to round up is that, again, sometimes we could be looking at the wrong direction when it comes to being financially sustainable. Trying to follow the crowd. They say this is what is raining. Oh, crypto, you go there. Oh, these, you go there. Oh, stock, you go. I'm not saying any of these things is bad, but again, it's identifying what is financially sustainable. For one person, it may mean casting your net on the right side for that big catch. Okay, and for another person, it may just be casting or catching the right fish that has coin in its mouth. And yet for another person, theirs may not have anything to do with anything outside, but it's more like focusing on that cruise of oil that is within your reach, that has been overlooked for some time, just to get that financial liberation. So it's two cannot work together except they agree. In marriage and to provide for home, there has to be an agreement. There has to also be that transparency and openness. I wouldn't really emphasize on maybe having joint accounts, because what works for one may not work for the other person, but at least you have to have a joint agreement. So the emphasis, when it comes to that topic, I would say the emphasis should be a joint agreement. Okay, maybe in terms of joint agreement as to what is coming in, as to the income, joint agreement as to expenses, because again, circumstances may not encourage a totally joint account. Some people, you have to provide a salary account, so the husband will provide salary account of an account number, their wife. It may not really be convenient, and in this part of the country, it's really not that an easy thing to just have just one account. So there are so many areas and so many places when it comes to the financial sustainability, just to make sure that the house is not suffering financially, just to make sure that the marriage is not suffering. Some people, the bottom line of all the quarrel, all the bickering, all the arguments between the husband and wife, it just boils down to finances. Pray that God will continue to give us the wisdom and the enablement. Serious, I want you to be on the lookout. Another thing I would say that could be challenging in marriage, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, is childbearing. childbearing. I will tell you my experience as well. I'm keeping it real on this series, and as usual, I hope you find it beneficial. The Lord bless you. Take care.